Go inside the Crimson Tide with your hosts Rodney Orr and Gary Harris, keeping you informed on everything Alabama. Tider Insider TV, brought to you by Tuscaloosa Tourism and Sports.
You know what time it is. It's 6:30 on a Tuesday night in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, at the University of Alabama, inside the WVUA 23 studios in Bryant-Denny Stadium. That means it's time for Tider Insider TV. Good evening and welcome, everybody. TITV is brought to you by Tuscaloosa Tourism and Sports. I'm Gary Harris. Right next to me is Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com, and we're going to dive right in because the SEC spring meetings underway in beautiful Destin, Florida, with representatives from all the SEC schools plus incoming schools, Oklahoma and Texas, in attendance. Although Oklahoma and Texas will not be able to vote on any of the issues, still they are there. It's happening. SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey says OU and UT are only observing, as we said in this year's meetings, but good to have them there. Next year, they'll be full-fledged members. Now, the meetings in Destin have a lot to discuss. The main topic, though, Rodney, is expected to be football scheduling, with the Sooners and Longhorns set to join the SEC in 2024. Now, there are two main schedule proposals: an 8-game conference schedule with 1 permanent opponent, 7 rotating opponents, and a 9-game conference schedule with 3 permanent opponents and 6 rotating opponents. Now, you're not going to make everybody happy. We already know that. If the league votes to adopt the 9-game conference schedule, there will be further debate on how to select those 3 permanent opponents. And Rod, that seems to be the rub. Beginning in 2024, the SEC is going to eliminate the divisions. No more East and West. The league will continue to have a championship game, though. And for a 9-game schedule, there's some speculation that Alabama's 3 permanent opponents would be Tennessee, LSU, and Auburn. SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey said the league is poised to make a decision on the schedule, but it may not happen this week. And so let's get to it. For Nick Saban, I know a lot of people are saying, well, Saban's flipped. Well, he has, because he's been a 9-game schedule proponent, but when they sit there and tell you your 3 permanents are going to be LSU, Auburn, and Tennessee, I can't blame him because there's not going to be maybe anybody else other than maybe Auburn that's going to have that tough of 3-game setup. Listen, the bottom line is this: adding these teams, going to 16 teams, you're not going to be able to keep all these rivalries intact. I'm sorry, you're just not. That's the reality of the new financial package in the world that we're going to be in. So listen, I cover Alabama, but I'm with Saban. I think, you know what, you may have to lose one of these rivalries, but it's important to try to get this schedule to have as much parity as possible.
Yeah, and that's difficult. There's no question about that. And again, you are correct. I mean, the 3 permanent opponents certainly would be kind of, when you look at some of the other suggestions that have been made on the other teams in the SEC, it'd be a little bit of an imbalance, I think, against Alabama. But I'll say this. Listen, it's going to be really interesting to see, Gary, which direction they go. 8 games, 9 games. Look, I don't know. I certainly don't have any special insight on this, but I would say this. Based on a couple of things I hear, I won't be surprised because of TV if they end up, at least initially, sticking with 8 games, 1 and 7.
That's my gut, too,
yeah.
At least for 2024, and maybe see what happens after that. But, again, I think in a perfect world, Alabama and Auburn play every year. Alabama and Tennessee play every year. Alabama and LSU play every year. Alabama and Mississippi State play every year. Look how long that rivalry's been going on. But that's not going to happen. You're going to lose some schools that you're accustomed to playing every year in the divisional setup. And with divisions gone, you just have to accept that. And I don't blame Nick Saban one bit for looking out for Alabama's interest, particularly with the fact now that Alabama has gone to this incredibly difficult non-conference schedule. They're going to play 2 Power 5s outside the SEC every year. This year it's Texas and at South Florida. So, Rod, you know how it is. Everybody's looking out for themselves. I do think they'll be compromised and they'll come together. But if you're Nick Saban and you're arguably the greatest football coach of all time, and you don't stand up for yourself and your program, who else is going to?
No, again, I think right now, Gary, the question is how are they going to make this to where it fits for every team? Again, the balance that you're looking for in terms of the scheduling. It's a very complex thing. I don't think it's intentional to make it more difficult for one school over the other. But again, you got to find that balance, and it's difficult to do.
Yeah, we'll see if anything comes out of this week as far as an announcement. I would not count on it 100%, that's for sure. All right, another thing that's going on in regards to this meeting is going to be NIL, name, image, and likeness. Now, Nick Saban said he would not oppose a format similar to the NFL with a College Football Players Association that monitors these types of benefits programs as far as offering its players. In other words, kind of unionize it, because listen, they're getting paid. This isn't your mom and pop grocery store giving a couple $100 a month to a player to endorse their little local grocery store. This is big business, and Nick Saban says you've got to get a hold on it. Here he is today down in Destin.
Unionize it, make it like the NFL. I mean, if it's going to be the same for everyone, I think that's better than what we have now, because what we have now is we have some states and some schools in some states that are investing a lot more money in terms of managing their roster than others, and I think this is going to create a real competitive disadvantage for some in the future, and it's also going to create an imbalance in competitive nature of the sport, which that's not good for the sport.
Here we go again, Rod. Nick Saban's not only a great coach, he's a very smart man. And he has always seen big picture, going back to, the spread option. He asked, is this what we want college football to be? And when everybody said, yeah, it is, he adjusted. He's won championships since then. But he's absolutely right here. The NFL, we know, pays all of their players, but they have a salary cap.
Right.
They have a limited amount. It's a lot, but everybody's kind of working under the same rule structure. If that doesn't happen in college football, in fact, in the NFL, they like everybody to go 8-8. Now there's 17 games, so I guess 8-9 or 9-8. They try to set it up for parity. In college football, if, like Saban said, and he's 100% right, if you don't get some kind of leash on this, then the schools that can spend the most money are going to win the most games. And there's going to be a major competitive balance drop-off.
No, I think we've been saying that from day one, that there has to be something that's equal footing, equal ground, level ground for all teams to compete equally. Gary, I think that's the thing you're looking for, and that's the thing you're striving for. And initially, it really hasn't been that way. We've seen some schools that are obviously spending a lot more than others, but he's right. I mean, they've got to get some kind of rules, some kind of groundwork together where there's balance.
Indeed. And we'll continue to cover the spring meetings this week on WVUA 23. And, of course, next week on Tider Insider TV, we'll have a recap of everything that went on. They wrap up at the end of the week. All right, let's get to basketball and some good news, some badly needed good news for Alabama men's basketball. Mark Sears will return for his senior season. Originally from up in North Alabama. He signed with Ohio University out of high school, transferred into Alabama last year, had a really good year for Alabama. 12.5 points, 3.5 rebounds, 2.5 assists per game, second leading scorer behind Brandon Miller, started all 37 games, helped Alabama to that #1 overall seed in the NCAA tournament. Tested the draft waters, but decided to come back, and we think that Javon Quinterly may come back as well. Tomorrow is the deadline for you either to come back or stay in the draft. But, Rod, let's be honest here. With all that's happened with Alabama and the players that they're losing, getting Mark Sears back, a veteran scoring guard in the SEC for this team, is huge.
Absolutely. No question about it, Gary. You've hit the nail on the head. Hopefully Quinterly follows suit, because you need both these guys, the experience that they bring, the talent that they have, certainly the way they contributed to the team last year, what they can do next year. I think bring a lot of leadership to this team. And you know what? Hopefully Alabama can pick up a couple of other guys that they're kind of in the mix with right now. And if they can, I think they can get this roster back to where they want it. Yeah,
because in the backcourt they're going to be good, especially if Quinterly comes back. You have Sears, Quinterly, Rylan Griffin. You got two transfers coming in, Aaron Estrada and Latrell Whiteside. Of course, Davin Cosby, who enrolled last year, will be eligible. Front court is where they need help. And with Charles Bediako leaving, I think Nate Oates admitted they were surprised by the positive feedback he got from the NBA. They expected him to come back, but Bediako is staying in the draft. Well, still to come here on TITV on a Tuesday night. Alabama baseball hosting a regional for the first time since 2006. We'll have the latest for you. And a little bit later on, we'll be getting to your phone calls and emails. Plus, Alabama softball left today for the Women's College World Series out in Oklahoma City. Our Stu McCann was there to capture this great video of the team going for the 14th time to OKC. Details on that. And as I said, your phone calls, emails, and tweets, as always, the phone number 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882. Email us at the address on your screen, or you can even tweet at us. Throw a tweet at me or use the hashtag TITV, and we'll look for that as well. We'll be right back with the only show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide, Tider Insider Television. We'll return right after this.
There's always a certain level of comfort when you're playing at home, and we think we're going to have great crowds this weekend, and if we can get the Joe rocking this weekend, I think that's a great feeling for our guys. I think, one, they deserve it, but I think, two, they have a bigger impact on the game sometimes than they probably realize.
Well, for the first time since 2006, Alabama baseball will host an NCAA regional. The Crimson Tide earned the number 16 national seed, which I thought was a little bit low, quite frankly, but that does mean they get to host. Alabama will welcome in Boston College, Troy, and Nicholls State. The Tide will play Troy on Friday, or I should say Nicholls State. Alabama will play Nicholls State on Friday, and Troy will play Boston College in the opening game. Welcome back to TITV, brought to you by Tuscaloosa Tourism and Sports. Alongside Rodney Orr, I'm Gary Harris. And as I said, Rodney, for the first time in 16 years, it's hard to believe that Alabama is hosting an NCAA regional. And this is a team that has got an opportunity, I think, not only to win its regional, but to maybe make some noise in the super regional. Now, if it goes to form, they would have to go to Wake Forest, Winston-Salem, North Carolina, the number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament, which is not going to be easy. But certainly I think they're capable of winning this regional, and if you can do that, you take your chances.
I really like the way this team's played down the stretch since we've had the change, Gary. I mean, they've played really well. They've come together as a team. I mean, it's been phenomenal the way they've responded to the circumstances. They've been a really hot team. Look, they haven't gotten that SEC tournament. I mean, they had Florida on the ropes. Looked like they were going to win that game. The guy hits the big bash, and, they lose. And they lose to Vanderbilt, a team that just won the SEC tournament. So this is a team that, hey, look, they can compete with anybody in the country. They've proven that throughout the season, and really excited to see what they can do.
Yeah, Rod, obviously the first game of the regional is huge, and Alabama's better than Nicholls State, but you still have to go out there and you have to play. But it's my expectation, and that Troy's good, Boston College is good, but it's my expectation that Alabama will win this regional. And certainly it's the expectation that Wake Forest will win its regional. But one good thing about if you do advance, you go play the number 1 team in the regional, or in the country, all the pressure's on Wake Forest. You know what I mean? And the last time Alabama was at a super regional site was 2010 Clemson, and they won the first game and came within, Jason Smith hit a ball that would have cleared the fence with about another 3 feet to make it to the College World Series. So if you're fortunate enough to get out of this regional, you know what? Just go up to Winston-Salem and just let it all hang loose.
Well, look, Alabama's played competition all year long.
That's right.
Again, they played the number 1 team at one time, LSU, and they had opportunities to win a couple of those games at least. I mean, they beat Vanderbilt in the series here. So, look, I think that this team can compete with anybody. The main thing is, where they are right now, they have to stay focused on the regional that they've got, put themselves in a position to advance. They do that, then we'll go from there.
It's going to be fun with the softball team out in OKC and Bama in town to host a regional at Tuscaloosa's Sewell Thomas Stadium. Going to be a fun weekend for fans of the sports with the bat and the ball. All right, let's get moving along here with some coach talk now. After a year absence from the Women's College World Series in Oklahoma City, Patrick Murphy spoke about his love and admiration for this team, Team 27. And you can hear it in his voice here. This is a special team to him to accomplish what they've accomplished, making it back to the World Series.
As excited as the first time. I'm being sincere when I say that. And I think I told you guys this Sunday, this has been the most gratifying season of my career. This group, selfless, servant leaders, they are filled with mudita. I just cannot say enough good things about this group. And the whole season has been, peaks and valleys and adversity and, what happened in Arkansas to Montana. And they keep coming back for more. And that's what I love about them. They are just gritty as can be.
Rod, big crowd out there to Tuscaloosa National Airport today to see him off. And you heard what Murph said there. That's some high praise. I think it means a lot to him because last year's team, quite frankly, I thought underachieved. Didn't even get to the Super Regional, lost the Regional at home. Then you had numerous defections from this team. Let's just call them what they are. A lot of players transferred out. This was a team this year that is quite honestly a little bit offensively challenged. But Montana Fouts is a star, and then Jayla Torrance comes on. You get a fortunate seed, being the 5 seed, but you take advantage. You win the regional without Montana, then you beat a really good Northwestern team. I know they want to go out there and play well and have a chance to win, but to me, that's gravy. To make it to the College World Series, you heard the emotion in Murph's voice, what it means.
And it should, because he mentioned adversity, Gary. There's obviously been a lot of adversity they've had to overcome throughout this season. Look, there's been a lot of chatter, too. I mean, there's been a lot of criticism. And you know, coaches say, well, we don't really hear that, but they really do. And I think the way this team responded, the way Patrick Murphy, his staff responded, been outstanding. But, you know, again, I go back to what people said, 3 weeks ago, a month ago, that they were writing this team off. And for where they are now, I mean, this has been a great accomplishment already. Now, again, you want to go to Oklahoma City with a chance to win the national championship for sure. But, again, this has been a great accomplishment for where they are. Indeed.
And they'll play on Thursday in the first game at 11 a.m. against Tennessee. The two SEC teams going head-to-head. The Vols beat Alabama 2 out of 3 in the regular season in Knoxville and then knocked them out of the SEC tournament in Fayetteville 7-6. But Alabama's used to play in Tennessee. They're going to be comfortable, and they'll be an underdog. But you know what? They get a strong pitching performance from either Fouts or Torrance or both and can keep Tennessee down a little bit. Tennessee can score runs. I don't think Alabama's going to outscore them. So they're going to probably need to keep this thing in the 4 to 5 run at the most to have a chance to win. But we'll see what happens. All right, still to come on TITV, find out how Alabama men's golf finished at the NCAA Championships out in Scottsdale, Arizona. And up next, we'll be welcoming your phone calls, emails, and tweets. And I'm told we have phone lines open right now. All you have to do is call in at 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882. We want to hear from you, Tider Insider Nation, so go ahead and give us a ring. And we'll be back with your phone calls and emails next right here on Tider Insider TV. Really solid year for Alabama men's golf, but they were eliminated from the NCAA Championships in Scottsdale, Arizona yesterday. Crimson Tide needed to make it into the top 8 to make it to match play. They finished 11th after going into the last day of the stroke play event, finished 15th, and they were really too big a hole, but still really solid year. Nick Dunlap and Cannon Claycomb both finished in the top 25, leading Alabama to its second lowest 72-hole team score in program history yesterday. Again, just couldn't make up the ground, but this is a program that's back and looks like next year most of these guys are set to return. They could be really, really good. Welcome back into TITV with Rodney Orr. I'm Gary Harris. Let's get to some phone calls and some emails. What are we doing right here off the top? All right, let's get to an email one. Our email question of the day is brought to you by KDM Service Corporation, serving your family like our family for all your heating and air conditioning needs. It's KDM Service Corporation. Does Nate Oates have any interest in North Dakota State big man Grant Nelson? That's from Landon in Tuscaloosa, and the answer is yes. A lot of people do, Rod. This is a 6'11" kid who went into the draft, pulled out, and said he is going to transfer. His stats this past season were outstanding. I mean, he was one of the top players in the country, averaging 17.9 points, 9.3 rebounds. They played top competition. He's long. He can shoot. Now, listen, Alabama's not the only school that's interested, and there might be an NIL situation here, but Alabama's definitely interested in adding a player of this caliber.
Yeah, he looks like a really big-time player, Gary. I think he would be a great addition. Obviously, the size, the athleticism, the ability that he has, you know, the points that he's a very productive player. So there's no question that Alabama's very interested.
Yeah, absolutely. It'd be a big pickup, that's for sure. All right, very rare that we have phone lines open, but we do. 205-348-WVUA. 348-9882. Phone lines are open right now. Let's get to another email. In the meantime, this is from Bruce in Tuscaloosa. When is the last time Bama hosted a regional, and who will be the Friday night starter for the Crimson Tide? Well, the answer we gave you earlier is 2006 on the regional, 17 years. As far as the starter, they've got some options. My guess is it'll be Luke Holman with the injuries that they've had in the pitching staff. He's kind of become the lead guy. So, but, you know, they might want to hold him to Saturday. So, as I said, they do have some options. But Holman has been the guy that's been holding down Friday nights for the past several weeks.
Well, you know, Gary, you're talking about the last time. Was it North Carolina came in here one
2006.
time? 2006. They were really a powerhouse.
They were good.
So, yeah,
Alabama was good, too.
Yes,
but North Carolina got out of here, and that's the last time they hosted a regional. All right, as I said, phone lines are open, so give us a call. Also, still to come on TITV, a former Crimson Tide women's golfer picked up her first professional victory over the weekend on the Epson Tour. And as I said, more phone calls. Well, some phone calls. We haven't had any phone calls yet. 205-348-WVUA. I know it's that point in the summer. People are holidaying and having a good time, but give us a call if you'd like at 205-348-9882. We'll be right back after this. Former Crimson Tide women's golfer Juwan John picked up her first professional title at the Innova Mission Inn Championship on the Epsom Tour. That's the feeder tour for the LPGA. She carded a 10 under par and won by 2 strokes. John competed at Alabama in 2018-2019, earning first-team All-America honors and All-SEC in her one season. She captured a pair of victories and still holds school records for low tournament total, 196. So that's pretty good. Congratulations to her. A lot of Alabama golfers on the men's and women's professional tours. All right, let's head out on the phone lines and welcome in our pal BT, Bill Taylor from right here in Tuscaloosa. Hey, Bill, what's up?
I'm not much, Gary and Rodney. How about y'all?
Doing fine.
Okay. What I want to ask is, Rodney and Gary, is that what y'all think the men's basketball schedule is going to be like next year?
Well, it's going to be difficult. I mean, that's the way Nate Oates schedules. We haven't seen the complete schedule yet. We know they're going to play Ohio State down in Destin. They're going to play Purdue up in Canada. You'll have your SEC schedule. I think what Nate Oates has done is not only has he raised the profile of Alabama men's basketball, Rodney, by how they've played, he's raised it by how they schedule, too.
I think that was really big. You look at some of the games that they won this year against top teams. I mean, it was pretty incredible. And I think you're right, Gary. I think anytime you play that kind of schedule, you win those kind of games, you elevate your program. You remember what Bobby Bowden did with Florida State back in the early days, how they elevated their schedule. I mean, I think it's similar. When you utilize your schedule to play teams like that, you've got a chance to really improve your stock.
All right, BT, thanks for the call. Let's get one more quick phone call in from right here in Tuscaloosa, and we are going to visit with who we got? I still haven't heard. Amy. We got Amy here in Tuscaloosa. Hey, Amy, how are you?
Hi, I'm fine, thank you. I wanted to know who was voted the MVP for the Super Regional.
All right, Amy. I don't know that they actually voted an MVP as far as an official MVP. I know that for my vote, it would have been Jayla Torrance. Obviously, Montana Fouts was great, too, but I think Torrance, what she's been able to do the last couple of weeks. Hey, thanks for the phone calls. We'll be back to wrap it up right after this. We're just about out of time. I did check, Rodney. There was no Super Regional Tournament MVP name, but you could have made Fouts and Torrance co-MVPs. How about that? They were great. All right, that's going to do it for the program. We appreciate you tuning in. Don't forget, if you missed any of tonight's show, you can catch a replay at 10:30 after the news at 10 or online anytime at WVUA23.com. With Rodney Orr, I'm Gary Harris. Thanks for watching TITV. We'll see you again next week, everybody.